The first case is cause number 85578, involving Dallas Campbell, the child. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Naranjo is with us representing the child. Ms. Lucero is with us representing the mother, Susan Campbell, who is with us. And Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the father, Lewis Campbell, who is with us. I will also call related case cause number 85577. This case involves Clyde Wallace, child, and Bonnie Wright, the child. Again, Ms. Gutierrez for the department, Ms. Naranjo for the children. Mr. Sain is with us representing the father, Mr. Wright. I show he's incarcerated. He is not with us, not in the waiting room. And again, Ms. Lucero for the mother, Susan Campbell, who's with us. All right, in both cases, I understand the department's asked that I do a start-stop on both cases then we would reconvene in approximately 60 days.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that, Ms. Gutierrez, is that mainly for mediation?
No, Your Honor, it is to allow continued monitoring of the Wright Wallace children with Mrs. Campbell, and then depending on the court's decision today for the placement of Dallas, it'll be for monitoring Dallas's new placement going forward. Department policy is to monitor that for 8 weeks just to make sure the families are doing well, don't need us, and make sure that all the issues are fully resolved.
All right, so on Dallas Campbell's case, your first amended motion for placement to place with Susan Campbell, that's contested?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Kincaid has a motion she filed, I think before I filed mine, asking for placement with the father.
All right, I don't have that, but you've informed me, so I probably saw it at some point. Is it my understanding, before we get started, maybe to streamline this, once Ms. Campbell was paroled out, my notes indicate that she moved in with her mother where the children are currently placed. Is that correct?
I think the placement is not her mother, but a family friend. Is that correct,
Okay.
Aaron? But yes, Your Honor, that timeline is correct. That's my
Okay.
understanding as well.
So basically, mom is living with the children along with the placement, which is a relative.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, then let's as far as just let's go ahead and I guess we're going to start and stop. We can go ahead and deal with the contested motion. That'll give us more than enough to go ahead and recess. So
Okay.
I only have Terry Holstead in the waiting room.
Is that name for us, Aaron?
No, we don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is. No, sir.
Right. Who's your witness, Ms. Gutierrez?
It's going to be Aaron Sessions, Your Honor, and I plan to call Mrs. Campbell as well.
All right, let me just double check. Let's just see who this person is.
Oh, Your Honor, I know who that is. That is for my 1 p.m.
Okay.
hearing. Wait, hold on. No, that's for this hearing, Your Honor. I apologize.
Okay. Is that's a witness going to be?
She's with the Texas Alcohol and Drug Testing Services.
Oh, okay. All right, then, Ms. Gutierrez, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Terry, I think it's Holstead.
Okay, let me get him or her in. Is it a male or female?
It's a female, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Holstead, this is Judge Graham. If you could unmute, please. Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. If you'd raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Holstead, who do you work for?
The Alcohol and Drug Testing Service?
And are you a custodian of records for that service?
Yes, I am.
And have you provided me with 15 pages of records concerning Lewis Campbell?
Yes.
And are those records created in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Are they maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Thank you. And are they created in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And you have access to that based on your duties as a custodian of record. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you are familiar with how those records are kept, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, we offer Petitioner's Exhibit 1 as evidence.
All right, any objections?
No, Your Honor.
No
All right.
objection.
I'm looking, Ms. Gutierrez, were those sent out in an email?
Yes, Your Honor, they were sent out, I believe, on Tuesday.
All right, let me just, Brittany, if I can't find them, if you have it, could you print it and run it in here to me?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Ms. Gutierrez, then Petitioner's Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lucero, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Holstead, in the course of the work that you do, is there any kind of distinction, or are you aware whether there's any distinction between the types of hair collected, whether it's from the head, the armpit, or elsewhere, so far as timing?
No, I cannot comment on that. That's not relevant to my duties as the custodian of records.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Sane, any questions?
No, Judge, thank you.
Uh-huh. Mr. Naranjo?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, then. If nothing further, can Ms. Holstead be released?
No objection.
Okay. All right, Ms. Holstead, thank you for your testimony. I'll release you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Aaron Sessions as its witness.
All right. Ms. Sessions, if you raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Aaron, who do you work for?
St. Francis Ministries.
And what do you do for St. Francis Ministries?
I am a supervisor.
And are you supervising both the case for Dallas Campbell as well as for Bonnie and Clyde, Wright and Wallace?
Yes, I've been the supervisor on the case since removal.
And who is the mother of all three children?
Susan Campbell,
And who is the father of Dallas?
Drake Campbell,
And who is the father of Bonnie and Clyde?
Brandon Wright.
And were the children removed by the department?
Yes, they were.
And the department was named temporary managing conservator in an order for protection. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Very briefly, what were the main issues that caused the removal of the children?
Domestic violence and drug use.
Okay. And was that domestic violence between Mr. Campbell against Susan Campbell?
That is correct.
And what was the drug use involved?
Both parents.
Both parents. And what drugs were involved in that drug use?
Methamphetamines, marijuana, I believe.
Thank you, Ms. Sessions. Your Honor, may I proceed now with the motion I'll go into that line of questioning.
Yes, ma'am,
And
sure.
thank you, Your Honor. Now, Aaron, we have a motion filed before the court asking that asking that Dallas Campbell specifically be placed with Susan Campbell. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you believe that that is in Dallas's best interest?
Yes, I do.
Can you please explain why placement with Susan Campbell is in Dallas's best interest?
The number one reason would be because his siblings are there. Number two, I don't believe it's in his best interest to disrupt where he's been living for a while. He's been placed with his mother once before in this case. He has enormous supports in that household. He has enormous support in his school. So we think it's best that he stay where he is.
Can you tell us more details about the home that he and Mrs. Campbell are currently residing in?
It's a fictive kin home. It's a longtime friend of Miss Susan Campbell. When she was incarcerated, Renee Cooper came forward wanting to be placement of the children because they had returned to foster care. A home study was completed and approved, and the children were all three moved into the home with Miss Cooper.
Okay. And at that time, you mentioned that Ms. Campbell was incarcerated again. Can you give us a short timeline of Ms. Campbell's progress of the case, including when she became incarcerated and when she was released?
Yes, so Miss Campbell worked her services through the case. She was clean for an extended period of time. The children were reunified with her, I believe, in August of 2025. Very shortly after official reunification happened, Miss Susan Campbell was picked up on an active warrant out of Polk County for an 11-year charge, a 11-year-old charge. She was taken to Polk County, where she remained for a short time and then was transferred to TDCJ, where she was at until, I believe, February, I think, of this year.
So February, you're confident it's February of this year.
Pretty sure it's February.
And upon her release, what home was she released to?
She was released to the home of Renee Cooper, where the children were located.
Now, is Mrs. Campbell on parole or did she finish her sentence?
She's on parole.
She's on parole. Okay.
Yes.
Now you talked about the child's relationship with his siblings. Can you describe Dallas's relationship with Bonnie and Clyde?
He's very bonded to them. They have lived together the majority of almost the entirety of their lives. They've been separated briefly throughout this case when they've had to be in separate placements, but throughout the case, they've been brought back together. He is very, very bonded to his siblings.
And can you describe Dallas's relationship with his mother, Susan Campbell, in detail?
He's also very bonded to his mother. He loves her very much. She's his mom. He is excited that she's back home. He is happy that they're all there together. He also does have a relationship with his father, a good relationship with his father, I think.
Now, has Dallas made any statements about where he wants to live?
Yeah, he says he would like to stay where he is. He does indicate that he wants to visit with his dad and see his dad. He did not want to go to the visit last week, I think on Thursday. That's a separate issue, but he wants to maintain contact with his dad, but he wants to stay where he is.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned that he had a good relationship with his father. Is that correct?
They seem to have a good relationship. They talk to each other. I mean, he's very busy. He's a very busy 7-year-old, so it's hard to maintain focus on the visits. But when they do have calls, they do talk.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about the child's potential placement with his father, Lewis Campbell?
I think it would be detrimental to him to separate him from his siblings. Mr. Campbell also recently tested positive for marijuana. There's also concerns. I mean, I know that Mr. Campbell has supports in Tennessee. Those were indicated in the ICPC home study. But Mr. Campbell does rely heavily on his family for transportation and all the things. Dallas is also in the same school that he was in prior to removal. So the school staff there is very familiar with him and his needs. So he gets a lot of additional supports there. So would not want to, can I have your charger? Sorry, my computer is dying. Would not want to uproot him from his current school.
Now, you mentioned that his school is very familiar with his needs. Does the child have any learning disabilities or diagnoses?
He does. He does have diagnosis. He is in special classes. He has accommodations at school for his ADHD.
And is he on psychotropic medication?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And is his current placement making sure that I apologize. Is his current placement making sure that gets reviewed at least every 30 days?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Susan Campbell's progress and how hard she's fought to get to this point of having her children with her?
Susan has been done with her services since at least June or July of last year. The hiccup with her being picked up was unexpected. She maintained regular contact. As soon as she was pulled over, the first phone call that she made was to St. Francis to come collect the children. She immediately started looking for or giving places to consider for placement so that they weren't brought back into foster care. She, as soon as she got out of jail, the first place she came was back to Amarillo, and she immediately got a job. Like the week she was out, she has been regularly checking in with her parole. She's been doing all the things that she needs to do and did prior to her incarceration.
All right. And do you feel like it's in Dallas's best interest to remain or to officially be placed with his mom?
I do.
And Bonnie and Clyde are officially placed with Susan Campbell. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Dallas has been having 24 hours of unsupervised visitation with his mom. Is that correct as well?
Yeah, I mean, they just all live in the same house together. So she's been able to take him to school, and we have not required that the kinship placement be around at all times.
Okay. Do you have any concerns with Dallas being placed with Mrs. Campbell?
I don't.
All right. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Aaron, this was, I remember some testimonies from previous hearings. This, the charge that Ms. Campbell was picked up on was, as you said, 11 years old. I mean, this kind of came out of the blue, didn't it?
Yes, sir, it did.
As I recall, Ms. Campbell included, everyone thought that that was taken care of, and it turns out it was not.
That is correct.
Okay, wanted to be sure I remembered the testimony correctly. Thank you. Ms. Lucero?
Just a few. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Sessions, as far as if the court were to order that Dallas could be placed with his mom, like the other two children are, is she going to be required to stay with Miss Cooper during the monitored period, or how would that look?
We would prefer that she stay with Ms. Cooper for the time being, just due to the amount of support that not only the children have, but she has in that home. We don't want her to get into a situation where she's struggling to pay the bills and all the things. Like she just got out, she's been gone for a while. Want her to get reestablished, but you know she could move if she wanted to. We would just have to evaluate that home before the children could be moved to that home.
Okay. And I understand that Mr. Campbell, after he had his wreck and to recuperate, according to the report in prior hearings, that he has a support system in Tennessee, but I guess no family here. Is that right?
That is correct. I believe his only connection to this area would be Miss Campbell, and he is from that Tennessee area, I believe.
And currently he has virtual visits with Dallas. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you have any idea when was the last time they had any kind of in-person contact?
No, it's been long before he left to Tennessee, or it's been before he went to Tennessee, several months before he went to Tennessee, I believe, because he was in the hospital.
Okay. And at this time, are y'all just requiring of Susan just to continue to work and just, of course, stay in contact with y'all, things like that, but there are no other services y'all are requiring at this time. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Aaron, you may not know the answer to this. If you don't, that's fine. But the placement, Ms. Cooper, do you know, is she willing for Ms. Campbell to remain in her home at least till we can come back and finish this final?
Yes, she is. They are all welcome there, as long as they need to be.
And you may not know the answer to this either, and I could be wrong. I haven't done criminal law in a long time, but when you parole out to a certain address, don't you?
Yes, sir, you do.
So we've got another variable that we don't know for sure that parole would allow her to move until she asks to move, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Ms. Kincaid, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Sessions, Mr. Campbell has an approved home study, is that correct?
He does have an approved ICPC. Yes.
When was that home study approved?
I don't recall the exact date. It's been several months.
Okay, and so that's since the time of the approved home study, have there been any changes that you're aware of that would make that home study not approved?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and Ms. Campbell, normally, or let me back up. Normally, does the department ask for 6 months of stable housing
Correct.
and 6 months of stable employment
Correct.
and reliable transportation?
Correct.
Does Ms. Campbell have any of those things?
She has a vehicle. She did have that employment and housing prior to her incarceration. Since her release, she has not technically had 6 months now.
Okay. Has Mr. Campbell provided to you pay stubs for his employment?
I have not personally seen them. That does not mean that we don't have them,
Okay.
but I do know he has a job.
Okay. And has he completed all the services required on his service plan?
Yes, ma'am, he has.
Has he attended his visitations?
Yes, ma'am, he has.
And is he doing what the department has required of him so that he could be placement for Dallas?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, did he request to have an ICPC on him for all 3 children, so should something occur with Miss Campbell?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Okay. And has the department proceeded with that, or St. Francis proceeded with that?
No, we did not initiate the one on the other 2 children, because Mr. Campbell had subsequently came back and said that, well, there's several reasons actually. Number one, he came back and said that he was only wanting placement of his own child. Number 2, we had to wait for Dallas's to be done and approved by Tennessee, before they would let us initiate on the non-biological children. And at that time, around about that time, we knew that Miss Campbell was going to be being released. And so we knew that the kids would go back to her or that she was coming back to the area where the kids were, and they would eventually be reunified with her, the other 2 children.
Okay. So should there be an issue that comes up with Miss Campbell, if her parole were to be revoked, what would be the St. Francis position at that time?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to speculation. She's asking, to answer, quote unquote, if mom's parole is revoked.
This thing.
So far as you're aware, are there any barriers to Mr. Campbell being placement for Dallas?
The only major concern I would have at this point, or barrier, would be the positive test for marijuana. Marijuana is still illegal in Tennessee. And what I've spoke about separating him from his siblings, those would be the main 2 issues.
I'll pass witness.
All right. Aaron, I'm not sure I heard your answer correctly. Did you say marijuana is still illegal in Tennessee?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that was my question too. Thank you. All right, Ms. Naranjo, questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Sessions, has Mr. Campbell ever provided a medical release to you from his doctor saying that despite his injuries from his accident, he'd be capable of taking care of Dallas?
No. To be fair though, I don't think that's something that we've asked for.
But it is clear from the home study that he does require assistance and has a support system, correct?
That is correct.
So it'd probably be relevant to look into that.
I would say so.
Now, Mr. Campbell also resides in Tennessee, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if Dallas were to be placed with him, then all of his contact with his siblings would have to be virtual, is that right?
That is correct.
Now, has Mr. Campbell been given the opportunity to visit the child in person since he's moved to Tennessee?
Yeah, we've told him at any point in time he wants to come, we would set that up. He did want to come this past weekend. It was Dallas's birthday, but our offices were closed on Friday, so we would not have had anyone to facilitate that visit. And then with it being Easter weekend, we told him that was not going to be a good time, but any time that he wanted to come, to give us enough notice so we could set something up.
And prior to the Easter weekend, did he ever ask to go see the child in person?
He had asked if that was something that could be arranged, but he never gave us specifics on when he was planning on coming.
So other than this past weekend, he's never really exercised that ability.
Correct. He has told me on previously too that he a couple of different times that he has some belongings here in Amarillo. He has his dog here in Amarillo, that he was planning on coming to see the kids, but he just has never come.
I'll pass witness.
All right. Mr. Saint, did you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, then if nothing further from Ms. Sessions, then Ms. Gutierrez, did you have any other witnesses?
I just
Your
have
Honor.
one quick. Oh, sorry, Savannah, go ahead.
If you have a redirect, that's fine, and I'll go after you.
But no, that's fine. Ms. Gutierrez, does anybody have any more questions for Aaron other than Ms. Kincaid?
Yes.
All right.
Just
Ms.
one
Gutierrez,
question.
all
Thank
right.
you, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
Ms. Sessions, has Mr. Campbell indicated or made any indications about how he would let Miss Susan Campbell have visits with the child if Dallas were placed with him?
He has not said that specifically to me. I know that there was something mentioned in the ICPC that he would not allow her around.
Okay. And do you think that that would be in the child's best interest or against it?
I don't think that would be in his best interest.
Pass the witness.
All right. Who is next? Ms. Kincaid.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Sessions, in your experience, are there parents that you work with that have disabilities?
Yes, ma'am.
And those parents that have disabilities, is St. Francis willing or able to place children with those caregivers if they're appropriate?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's also helpful if they have support from family and friends in the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'll pass witness.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, then, Ms. Gutierrez, any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, the department calls Susan Campbell as its witness.
All right. Ms. Campbell, if you'd unmute, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. If you'd raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Susan, when were you released from being incarcerated?
March 2nd, 2026.
And when did you start living in the home with the children?
March 2nd, 2026.
Okay. And are you taking care of Dallas while you live there?
Yes, all 3 kids.
Okay. And are you taking care of their daily needs like food, clothing, and shelter?
Well, obviously shelter is, I do live with Renee, her husband, and then my kids, her kids. So the shelter part is covered under that. But as far as everything else and daily necessities and essentials, all that is taken care of.
Okay. And can you tell me about your relationship with Dallas?
My relationship with my son is wonderful. We are very, very, very close. Um, he's a great kid, and we've always been very close. We're closer now than we ever have been because of the situation and the separation of them being in foster care. But I believe me and my son will be very close.
Do you love Dallas?
Very much so.
Okay. And do you think it's in his best interest to remain living with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Campbell, explain to me briefly about this 11-year-old charge that you got picked up on and had to serve some time. I may have heard this at a prior hearing, but I can't remember.
I got arrested in 2014 for methamphetamine, so it was possession with intent to deliver due to being in a vehicle. I was sentenced to 10 years of deferred probation. I thought I was done reporting in December of 2025, and I was apparently not. It should have been December of 2026. So, and due to missing the probation appointments, they violated me on the grounds of missing the appointments. And to be honest with you, I chose to go to TDC. They offered me 2 years. I had a little bit of back time on this charge from, the arrest and stuff anyways, because I just wanted the charge to be done with and out of my way. So it was my negligence of not really knowing when my probation was done. I really thought I was done within 2025, and it should have been done in 2026.
Okay. And I assume all those years when you're on probation, you never picked up any additional criminal charges. Is that right?
No.
No, you didn't, or no, I'm incorrect.
No, I didn't. I don't have any other charges
Okay.
that I have convictions for.
All right. And can you stay with the Coopers until we come back in 60 days to finish this final hearing?
Absolutely. They would let me stay at their house indefinitely. And actually,
Okay.
if you need to speak with Miss Cooper, she's right beside of me, and
No,
she
I
can
don't have
verify
any-
that for you.
Unless somebody wants to call her as a witness, I don't have any reason to disbelieve you. So,
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Lucero, questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Susan, just to be clear, when will your parole period be over?
I'm looking at 6 to 8 months. I'm on the lowest level of supervision there is. I don't have to report to the parole office. I call every 90 days. My next appointment being July 1st with Officer Garcia. The only stipulation to my parole is to having employment.
Okay. And did you, and whenever you paroled out, you heard the Judge Graham talk about that earlier, you paroled out to Miss Cooper's home, to the Cooper's home?
I
Is that
did.
correct? Okay.
I did.
And are you required to stay there throughout the time of your parole?
I'm required to have a move approved 30 days prior.
Okay. But again, you heard the judge ask if you could, you answered that question, if you could
Yes.
stay there. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Now, regardless of if Judge Graham places Dallas with Mr. Campbell or places him with you, I know you want him placed with you, but regardless of how
I
that
do.
works out, are you asking the court just to order that you and Mr. Campbell communicate by some kind of parenting app?
A
For
parenting
example,
app.
the app
Yes, ma'am, I
Close?
am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I am requesting that.
And do you think that that would be better just due to maybe back issues that y'all might be having?
Yes, ma'am, I do think that's better.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. I may have another question for Ms. Sessions here in a minute, but Ms. Kincaid, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you have another child that is not currently in your care?
I do. His name is Jeremiah, and he lives with my mother here in Canyon also.
And why is he not in your care currently?
Jeremiah was placed in my mother's care when his brother died
Okay. And was
16 years ago.
okay. And have you made any efforts to be reunified with him?
I spend ample time with him. He would like to live with my mother. Yes, he has had the opportunity to live with me. He has always lived with my mother, and that is what he chooses. So, as for what you're asking, yes, I do have a relationship with him.
Well, what I'm asking is that was his removal a result of a CPS investigation?
Yes, due to the death of his brother, and I signed my custody to my parents.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Saint?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Ms. Naranjo?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Campbell, what kind of relationship does Dallas have with his siblings?
Dallas and his siblings are very close. Obviously, they spend every single day together. They eat together. They play together. They play video games together. We play in the backyard together. It would demolish that child to separate him from his siblings.
And has Dallas lived with his siblings majority of his life?
Yes, the only separation that Dallas has had is when him and Clyde had to go to the foster home in Katy because Amarillo did not have a spot for them here. So at that point, the boys were separated from my daughter, but that was the only time that they had been separated.
And even then, Dallas was still with Clyde, is that right?
He was still with Clyde, yes.
Now, if all the children remain living with you, would you allow Dallas to have a relationship with his dad?
Yes, and I've actually already been in contact with my attorney on trying to establish some type of a legal custody agreement with his dad. I'm not trying to take his dad from him.
And you understand how important it is for Dallas to have a
I do.
relationship with his dad?
I absolutely do. I don't have an issue with him having a relationship with his dad. The only thing that I ask is for a custody order to be set in place.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Campbell?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Campbell, have you looked into any of these parenting apps? That I'm familiar with them, but I've never dealt with one.
What is the name of that parenting app? App Close. It's called App Close. It's I only know about this app because obviously Ms. Cooper and her husband have a daughter that is shared with the biological mother, and it is through the court system, and It records everything. You can make a phone call over the app and it can be recorded.
Right.
All the text messaging back and forth is recorded, and I feel
Yeah,
like that's in my
I
best
understand how it
interest.
works. My question is, who pays for it?
How does it get paid for? I believe I would be the one, or the parents would be the people to pay for that.
Right, and if I were to order that, and if Mr. Campbell doesn't want to pay for his share, are you willing to pay? Or do you want it bad enough that you're willing to pay for the cost?
Well, if he doesn't want to do that, then the only form of communication that I can agree to upon at this current moment is through my lawyer.
Well, that's not my question.
I'm not
If I
going to
don't
pay
want-
for his part. No,
All right,
no, he has a job. I feel like he should pay his part.
Mr. Campbell, would you say something?
I'm willing to, I'll pay for it, Judge.
Well, y'all split it. There's no, you shouldn't have to pay for all of it. So, all right.
Your Honor, I
Right,
think
I'd
it's
pay
per
for my part.
person.
Y'all are
I
all
think it's
talking
per
at the same
person,
time.
too.
Miss Campbell, wait until somebody asks you a question to keep talking. Miss Gutierrez, what'd you say?
Your Honor, it may be that each parent has to pay for the subscription for it, and I think Kendra's nodding her head yes.
Okay. All right. I figured somebody dealt with it before. So.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Miss Gutierrez. Well, does anybody else have further questions for Miss Campbell? All right. Miss Gutierrez, any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Your Honor. At this time, we rest on, we rest as in regards to the motion. We do think it's in Dallas's best interest to stay with his mom and his siblings in the same school that is familiar with his educational needs. And we are also asking to recess the final hearings in both the Campbell and the Wallace Wright cases.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, then, Miss Lucero, do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Miss Kincaid, witnesses.
Your Honor, I'd call Mr. Campbell.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, if you'd unmute. Thank you, sir. If you'd raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Campbell, you've heard the testimony so far today,
Yes, ma'am.
and you made the efforts to request a home study for yourself in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you made your home available to any courtesy worker that has come through and inspected your home?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And at the time that you requested this home study, Ms. Campbell, she was incarcerated. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your desire was for the home study to be completed for all 3 children since she was incarcerated. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Show that I could care for all of them.
Okay. And the home study was completed on Dallas and it was approved. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would like for there to be a home study approved for all 3 children. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're currently working. How long have you had the job that you have now?
Since July.
Okay. And what type of job is that?
I'm a fabricator and welder.
Okay. And the housing that you have, how long have you had that housing?
Want to say the middle to beginning of September, somewhere in there, probably the 2nd or 3rd week of September.
Okay. And so far as any of your utilities, your housing, all of that, do you pay for?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And do you have space and accommodations for Dallas at this time?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And I know we talked about this a little bit at the last hearing, but had you looked into where Dallas would go to school should he be placed with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
There's Sweetwater Elementary School or Brown Intermediate. Just depends on 2nd or 3rd grade.
Okay. And so far as transportation, I understand that, you had that accident last year and kind of made it difficult for you to drive, but do you have adequate support to transport Dallas to anywhere that he would need to be?
Yes, ma'am. I live in a small town called Sweetwater. I've got at least 6 immediate family members that live within 5 miles of me. I got 2 that live within 3 miles of me, and that's my grandfather and my stepmom Diana, and they pretty much help me with what I need. I keep a pretty tight schedule and routine, so works out great.
And you understand that, you know, Dallas's relationship with his siblings is important. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you'd be willing to facilitate whatever you needed to do within reason to make sure that they could stay in contact with each other?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand Miss Campbell's relationship with Dallas is extremely important.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Is there anything that would you be willing to work with her, whether it's through an app or some other mechanism, to make sure that he had regular contact with her if Dallas were to be placed with you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And are you willing, should Dallas be placed with you, are you willing to allow the department or their contractors to come in and regularly inspect your home and check in with Dallas to make sure that he's doing okay if he's in your care?
Yes, ma'am. I'm willing.
And there was a recent hair follicle test that came in positive. When is the last time that you used marijuana?
I'd say before my accident,
Okay. And when was that?
April of last year,
Okay. I'll pass
or
witness.
May of last year.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Campbell, have you been around anybody since then that was smoking marijuana in your presence?
I've smelt it when I walked outside my house a couple times, but never seen anybody, no, sir.
Do you live with relatives or do you live by yourself?
I live by myself.
Okay, all right. And I heard testimony. Is it true that you told the people that did your ICPC home study that if you had custody of Dallas, you wouldn't let mom see him?
No, sir, there's actually a little more context to that. The only thing I said is that she couldn't reside here because she's not on my lease, and I think she's got other stuff going on that she can't come to Tennessee.
Okay,
But nowhere in there did I say she wasn't allowed in my home.
okay, thank you. All right, then, Ms. Gutierrez, questions?
Very briefly, Your Honor, Mr. Campbell, you heard testimony from both Susan and Aaron Sessions about how close Dallas is with his siblings. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
What impact did hearing that have on you?
I know that my family's best together, and I don't want just Dallas. I want my wife and all the kids in my home and take care of them. But I don't know that that's going to be an option anymore.
Okay. Are you concerned at all about the impact it would have on Dallas to be separated from his siblings?
Very much so.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Lucero?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Campbell, currently you have visits weekly with Dallas from 5 to 6, is that right?
At 6 o'clock my time, but yes, ma'am, 5 to 6 their time.
All right then. And again, you have that hour visit, but would you agree with me that very rarely are y'all able to complete the entire hour visit?
Yeah, he's pretty fast on the phone, and so am I. Usually 15, 20. I think we've made 30 minutes once.
Okay.
But it's tough with a 8-year-old now,
Right.
trying to settle them down for a minute and focus on one thing,
Okay.
especially him.
All right, and you do understand whenever you have those virtual visits with Dallas that you can't talk about this ongoing case, and really you can't ask him questions about his mom as far as, you know, what she's doing and things like that. You understand that that's a violation during a visit?
Yes, ma'am. I don't believe that I've ever done that with him. He's told me a few things, but I asked him what he thought about living somewhere else and one time, but other than that, I haven't been bringing up the case to him.
Mr. Lewis, while Susan was incarcerated, y'all did have some contact, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and would you agree with me that eventually that contact turned aggressive, and so she stopped all contact with you? Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure what was
Objection, Your
aggressive
Honor.
about it.
That's
I'd have to check my
speculation.
records.
Sorry, you're talking, Mr. Campbell, and she's objecting. Who's objecting and to what?
I think that's speculation, Your Honor.
Overruled. Campbell, if you know what happened, tell me your side of it.
I asked for some things that needed to happen in our relationship, like us to talk every day and discuss future plans like a budget or what we would do together when this was passed. And we never had that conversation, so I gave up trying to have it.
Okay. Right, go ahead, whoever was questioning.
Your Honor, that's all the questions I'll have. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Mr. Saint, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Naranjo?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Campbell, since you've been living in Tennessee, is it correct that you've had no in-person visits with Dallas?
That's correct.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anyone have further questions for Mr. Campbell?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Campbell, you understand that Dallas is a young, active kiddo, and so hour-long phone calls have been an issue. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you made efforts to adjust those visits so they're split up?
I was told that there would be a second visit last Thursday, and he didn't want to go to his visit on Tuesday. And but the second visit never happened. I never got any contact. I tried to get on the link and nobody was there. But that was on Thursday. But anyway, I have had contact with him on virtual visits.
Okay, well, what I'm asking is, are you willing to, accommodate if he needs 15 minutes, 30 minutes, any kind of adjustments to the hour long, you're happy to make that adjustment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And, just to go into the breakdown between you and Miss Campbell while she was incarcerated, were there just communication issues, or what was the problem? What was the breakdown?
I was looking for transparency on the future and didn't find it.
And so did you cut off contact, or did she tell you she wasn't going to talk with you anymore?
She never said anything. I
Okay.
sent a couple of letters probably on deaf ears, but I'm not
Okay.
sure.
And you two at this time are still married, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so there's going to have to be some kind of resolution outside of these proceedings regarding that issue. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, I'll pass witness.
All right. Anyone else have further questions for Mr. Campbell? All right, then. Anyone else have further witnesses?
Your Honor,
Okay,
I
then.
didn't know if the court would permit me to call Miss Campbell if the court needs to hear from her on her side of what was going on while she was incarcerated between her and Mr. Campbell. I didn't
Yeah,
know if you needed.
that's fine. You can reopen with her if you think you
All
need
right.
to.
Thank you,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Ms. Campbell, if you don't meet again. All right,
Okay.
Ms. Campbell, you're still under oath, so Ms. Lucero, you can proceed.
Susan, I just want to follow up. You and Mr. Campbell did have contact while you were incarcerated, right?
Yes.
Okay, what type of contact did y'all have?
Phone, and then there's through email text service.
Okay, and did that start soon after you were transferred to TDCJ or even before you were transferred out?
I never spoke to him in TDCJ on the phone. That was during county jail. He sent a few, I think they call them JPay messages through the Securus app at TDC.
Okay, and you heard his testimony. I guess there was, from his end, he believes there was breakdown in communication. Is that your impression of what happened?
I believe that is a lot of it, yes. And I also feel like when something did not go his way and I did not want to talk about something, he would yell, he would get angry. And the reason I cut communication off with him was one of the last emails, text messages he sent while I was in TDC. It literally said, "I'm the man and I'm in control." And at that point, I felt like nothing would ever change. So I cut communication off.
At that point, did you have any concerns that things would go back to like whenever CPS got involved in your life?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. But was there a point in time that when y'all were getting along that he sent you, I guess, money or maybe
He
things
did
like
help
that?
me. Yes, he did.
Okay. And when did that communication break down? How long ago was that?
The last time I spoke to him, any kind of email, anything at all, spoke to him was the first or second week of January. I have not spoken to him since.
Okay. And as far as him stating that he was open to all three kids being placed there, when you heard that, did that cause you concern?
Yes, because I don't believe that.
And why is that?
Because there's no way, I'm sorry, he could not handle these three kids. They're very rambunctious. Our daughter obviously she's a pretty calm, cool, collective, but the two boys are not. And there are times that you have to go to the school or you have got to calm them down, or they're, destroying something or having a breakdown. I don't think he could handle them. So for him to say that he was trying to get all three kids there, no, I think he was maybe thinking about it, but in the long run, I don't think he
I'm
could
gonna
handle that.
object to speculation. She
Yes,
doesn't
ma'am.
know what he thinks.
Yes, fine.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Anyone else have questions for Ms. Campbell again?
No, Your Honor. Just
Your
briefly, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Campbell, I know you stated that you were interested in having the App Close app. Do you understand that App Close app will cost about $9 a month?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
Okay, I'll pass
I
witness.
have no problem saying that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Everyone rest and close as to this motion hearing. All right, then, Ms. Naranjo, your recommendations as to the first amended motion for placement review.
Your Honor, I think it's in Dallas's best interest to remain with his siblings and to begin reunification with Miss Campbell. I would like him to still continue to have a relationship with Mr. Campbell, and I think that is possible to have. I think if both parties are able to afford the $9 a month, I think App Close would be both beneficial so that Dallas can continue to have a relationship with Mr. Campbell.
All right, thank you. And it's called App Close?
App, APP, and then close, like close a door.
Okay. Close. All right, then. First of all, as far as both cases are concerned, I will grant the department's request that we recess the cases and reconvene. I'll set the reconvening on June 5th, 2026. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so parties can ask their lawyers or anybody can go on the court's docket, online docket, a day or two before June 5 to see what time of day we'll have that hearing, so you're not waiting around in the waiting room. All right, as far as the case involving Dallas, cause number 85578 L1, I will grant the department's first amended motion for placement review. I will order that Dallas continue to reside with his mother and his siblings and the, hang on just a minute, the Coopers. I will order that Miss Campbell not change her residence or the residence of the children from the Cooper's residence without a prior court order. All right, let me see, where was I will order the parents, all communication between the parents will go through the Close app, with each parent paying the costs of the subscription for themselves. Okay. If
Your
I
Honor?
haven't missed, yeah,
This case may benefit from mediation, if that's something that we could get going.
I'm all, anytime anybody asks for mediation, I order it. So, okay, I will order this case go to mediation. Let's keep in mind when you're setting the mediation that we've got 90 days from today's date to conclude the final hearing. So, okay,
And I'm sorry, Judge, James Saint, I'm sorry, what was the reset date?
June 5.
June 5. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, if I haven't missed anything, then we will be in recess on this case. I'll be back. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll be back to call a 1 o'clock Randall County case. That's a modification final hearing involving the PV and the Moore children. So, okay, y'all have a good week. We'll be in recess. I'll be back here in a few minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're here today on a petition to modify parent-child relationship filed by the department, as well as a counter petition to modify parent-child relationship filed by Mr. Fuentes, the father and possessory conservator. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Anjo is with us representing the children. Mr. Pirtle is with us representing the mother, Miss Moore. She is not with us. Mr. Pirtle, were you expecting her?
Judge, I know she knows about this hearing because she has the link to it, but she is not. I haven't been able to talk to her for quite a while.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the father, Michael Fuentes, who is present. And as I said, he has filed the counter petition to modify. Are we ready to proceed? I don't have anybody in the waiting room. Are we ready to proceed?
Your Honor, the department today is announcing not ready. I apologize. We were receiving more information in these past couple of weeks, a lot of it positive about Mr. Fuentes, and we are reevaluating our position and what we think is best for the children. Additionally, placement is not placement and parties to the case. Isabella and Chester Moore are not present in this hearing today. And so we are asking for a reset to later in the month of April. There is some policy stuff going on within the department. We are asking for that hearing to be rescheduled before the end of April.
All right. Any objections to postponing this hearing?
No objection.
No, Your Honor, the only thing that we request is that a TRO be put into place where no parties can discuss the case with the children or make disparaging remarks about any party in this case.
Okay.
Your Honor, we do have an objection just slightly. I think it's necessary for the department and the ad litem for the children to check in with the children about the case. But I think the statement about disparaging or the rule against that would be agreeable.
What do you mean? What do you mean check in with the kids? We've got a 12-year-old, okay, but then we've got a 6 and a 7-year-old. What do you mean by checking in?
Well, to ask them questions about who they want to live with and where they want to be. I think the department, as the managing conservator of the children, and also because of our pleadings and helping determine what we think is best for the children, I believe that that's necessary as well. If all parties are enjoined from doing that, then the children's ad litem as well would not be able to speak with her own clients. So I think that is traditionally a prohibition against the parents, and I think that's fine. Even with placement, maybe placement not talking to the kids about the case and the hearings, but we do object to that portion. We do not object to the request that the parties be ordered not to disparage each other, Your Honor.
All right. So
I would add to that, Your Honor, placement, not make disparaging remarks about any of the parties.
I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. All right. So you wanted something close to the end of April?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Brittany, do we have something? I don't have anything on what I had for today that gives any other April. Oh, there you go. She's texting me. She's way ahead of him. All right. She tells me we have April 27th. Ms. Wildman has a hearing. She's asked for 4 hours. I'm probably not going to allow that to take 4 hours. So I think we can work this in. We won't know today what time of day it'll be, but all right, I will grant the department's motion for continuance. I'll reset both of these petitions for hearing on April 27th. It will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so parties can ask their lawyers or anyone can go on the court's online docket a day or two before April 27th to see exactly what time of day we'll have that hearing. I'm just going to order that no parties make any disparaging remarks about any of the other parties or about the case itself. And I will specifically order that the current placement not discuss the case in any form with the children. All right. Anything else we need to take up? Otherwise, I'll see y'all on April 27th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. This is a compliance hearing following an order to participate. This is the Texas Family First case. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Naranjo is with us representing the child. Ms. Lucero is covering for Mr. Barfield, representing the mother, Ms. Evans, who is also with us. I have in the waiting room, I have Pamela Pierce, Paul Moore, Misty Fronterhouse, and Brian Jackson.
If Pamela Pierce and Misty Fronterhouse could both be let in, please, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I guess we are ready to proceed, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Misty Fronterhouse as its witness.
All right. Ms. Fronterhouse, if you'd raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Misty, can we get an update on how Kinsley is doing?
Kinsley's doing really well. She's making friends in daycare. She's still going to therapy. We did bump her back up to weekly. She was doing bi-weekly, not quite a month. And we found another trigger with her parents. So we've moved her back to weekly, but she's doing really well. She's learning to regulate her emotions. She showed me the cupcake that she does every night or when she feels anxious. So she's learning how to regulate herself. So she's doing really well.
Thank you. And there was a prior order that had ordered that Adasia was to participate in therapeutic visitation with Kinsley. Is that ongoing?
Yeah. Miss Smith doesn't feel like Kinsley's quite ready to do the therapeutic, but when that time comes, Miss Smith has asked that we move therapeutic over to Michelle Sines, which I have no issues with. Just because of the rapport she's built with Kinsley, she's afraid that that will be destroyed once she brings mom in. So we're going to, when the time comes that Kinsley's ready, we'll move that over to Michelle.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to Ms. Evans, how is she doing on her services?
She is attending services. I have heard that she is not, they don't feel she's truly engaging in them right now.
I'm going to object to hearsay on that.
Okay, understandable. I do feel that Adasia is starting to get something out of it. She's reading a book called What Happened to You. I believe that's what it's called. It's a really good book, and she has voice that she is starting to get stuff out of it and learn about herself, which I do agree that there's stuff that she hasn't worked through. And at our last visit, I do believe that she's working through those and it will get better.
Okay. She was also ordered to complete a parenting program in Region 16. Has she started that?
Well, that one got moved to Boys Ranch because Kinsley aged out of the Region 16 the weekend after that was ordered. So we had moved all of that to Boys Ranch, and she is engaged with that.
She was also ordered to do a co-parenting class. Is she participating in that now?
Oh, yes, she completed that already.
And right now, Kinsley lives with her father. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I understand her father has obtained a temporary restraining order against Miss Evans. Is that correct?
Yes, that is what I've been told, yes.
And do you have the date of their hearing before that Potter County Court with jurisdiction to modify the case, the
Yes,
prior
it'll
order?
be on the 21st of April.
Okay. With mom working services and both mom and the child still needing services from us, are we asking that the court continue this case and set another compliance hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
And would a month out be enough time for the father to obtain an order in his case as well?
I believe so. I would like to think so.
I pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lucero?
Just a couple, Your Honor. So she's completed the co-parenting, she's working on parenting. And then once the therapist feels that the child is ready, they'll move into therapeutic visits. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are there any other services that she needs to start or that are ongoing at this time? No?
No,
Okay.
that is all.
Okay. And how much are her visits? Are they an hour a week, or what are her visits at this time?
Yes, 1 hour a week.
Now, had she shared with you that she was hopeful that maybe she could move into unsupervised visits?
Yes.
Okay. And were y'all able to explain to her that she needs to first move into therapeutic visits before she could have unsupervised?
Yeah, I don't know that that was explained like that. What I explained to her is that Kinsley wasn't ready yet,
Okay.
which is the truth. So we can't move to therapeutic until Kinsley. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay. All right, I just want to clarify, wanted to clarify her services, but I appreciate it. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Naranjo?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Gutierrez, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, nothing further. We rest. We do ask that an additional compliance hearing be set 1 month out.
Okay, all right then. Ms. Lucero, did you have any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Naranjo?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Naranjo, recommendations.
Your Honor, I would recommend the child continue in placement. She's doing very, very well there with her father. And I would recommend that this case continue at least until we have that hearing on the 21st.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right, then I will just simply order that Ms. Evans continue working the services as previously ordered, which she's obviously doing. And I will set a compliance hearing for May 4th, 2026. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties can ask their lawyers or anyone can go on the court's online docket a day or two before May 4th to see what time that hearing will be, so you're not just waiting around in the waiting room. So, okay, that will conclude this hearing. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 9:30 to call another Randall County case. That is a final hearing involving the Grace child. So we'll be in recess. Everybody have a good week. You may call your first witness.
The department would call Kayla Scone, Judge.
All right, Ms. Scone, if you raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wildman?
Thank you, Judge. And Ms. Scone, how are you currently employed?
I'm a permanency specialist with St. Francis Ministries.
And are you the current worker assigned to the case involving Zahara Grace and her family?
Yes, I am.
All right, and just real briefly, how is Zahara doing?
She is doing great. She is very happy in her placement, doing well, meeting all the milestones, getting to her doctor's appointments, everything like that. She's a very sweet, happy, healthy young 3-year-old girl.
And just so just to be clear, she is with a fictive grandmother, correct?
Yes.
And has that been her placement since removal?
Yes, it has.
All right. Has she started school yet?
No, she's in daycare.
Okay. And she's 3. Is the plan for her to start preschool in the fall, or is she just a little too young?
Yes, I believe placement is working on a spot for her in preschool next year.
All right, perfect. Now, you said doctor's appointments. Are there any medical issues that anybody needs to be made aware of at this time?
Nope, she's very healthy. No concerns.
Perfect. All right, and so really quickly, let's get an update on the parents as well. Since you're newer on the case, correct?
Yes.
And since you've been on the case, have you had the opportunity to meet with and speak with both of the parents?
Yes, I have.
Now, have there been any updates regarding Mr. Lovato? Has he completed anything on his service plan at this time?
No.
Has he still been consistent that he doesn't believe he can take care of Zahara and it would be in her best interest for him to relinquish his rights?
Yes.
And has he been consistent with the department about that pretty much since we became involved and since he was determined to be the father?
Yes, that is correct.
And is it fair to say that he, kind of going along with that, he has not been having any kind of visitation with Zahara at this time?
Correct.
And let's get an update on Miss Ledgerwood. Have you recently been able to have contact with her?
Yes, I've had contact with her via text mainly. She did not meet with me last month. We had a scheduled date and she did not come. And so, I mean, she had recently told me that she had just wanted to relinquish this past week. But prior to that, I mean, she had said she wanted to work services, but she hadn't made progress toward that goal. So, since the last hearing, there has been no further progress on her service plan.
And she, I think you heard from the announcement earlier, she is on a phone, but it's not working great. Has that been your experience with Miss Ledgerwood?
Yes, I'm not usually able to call her unless she has Wi-Fi.
As far as kind of working services at this point, has she completed or begun anything yet?
I mean, she's drug screened for me. She had started, let's see, I believe she had started her counseling prior to me being the permanency specialist, so that was prior to August. And then she's not started not done her psychosocial, has not completed parenting, and then she has not done she's only done one domestic violence support group.
And then you said she hadn't done the psychosocial, but in December too, after the pavilion stay, was she also ordered to do a psychological evaluation?
Yes, I believe so.
And has that been completed?
I have not received any information on that.
Okay. And so at this point, is it fair to say that visitation was suspended back in June of last year?
Yes.
And has she had any visitation since?
No, she has not.
And she's required to have a negative UA and hair follicle drug screen to start visitation, correct?
Yes.
And when she screened for you last, did she meet those requirements?
No, she did not.
Did she meet the requirement on either type of test?
She did on the UA, but not the hair follicle.
All right. And as far as Miss Ledgerwood is concerned, you'd kind of heard that she was willing to meet with Miss Grant in the next couple of days. Is that consistent with what she had told you?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other updates that the court needs to be made aware of regarding either the parents and their services?
I would just say also on Lillian, she has had a change of housing. She had broke the lease on her apartment, and so she's just been kind of staying with family and friends here and there, so she does not also have stable housing.
Okay. Do you believe, based off of that information or what you know about the mother's living situation and her lack of participation in services, that it would be a continuing danger to return Zahara Grace to her care at this time?
Yes.
And just based off of Mr. Lovato not completing services and wanting to relinquish and not having a relationship with the child, do you believe that it would be a danger to return her to his home at this time?
Yes.
Do you believe the department's made reasonable and is continuing to make reasonable efforts to reunify Zahara with her parents?
Yes.
And are you asking that the department remain temporary managing conservator replacement continue?
Yes.
Are there any additional services or orders or anything that we need to make today?
Maybe just a drug screen for Lillian.
Would you want to do the hair? What do we just do? You want to do hair follicle or the urinalysis or both?
Well, we did both last month. So being that she needs both to have visits, I'm not sure which way we would want to go with that.
Would you just ask the court to order drug screening at the court's discretion?
Yes.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Caleb, she may have asked you this, but would it be contrary to the welfare of Zahara to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Grant, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Lucero?
No questions.
Mr. Naranjo?
Just briefly, Your Honor, Ms. Scone, is placement also licensed and willing to adopt Zahara?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. All right, then. If there's no further witnesses from anybody, then Ms. Naranjo, anything you need to add today?
No, Your Honor, no witnesses, and I would recommend that placement continue. The child's doing very well in that placement and that the case be reset for that final on May 11th.
All right, thank you. All right, then, I will continue the department's temporary manager conservator, continue the current placement. I'll just order Ms. Ledgerwood to hearing UA drug screen if she does not sign the relinquishment by Friday. There's no reason to send her for drug tests if she's going to sign the relinquishment tomorrow, according to Ms. Grant. So that'll just be a backup in case she changes her mind. So I'll just order that she, if she does not relinquish, then she's to Heron UA drug screen by 4 p.m. on Friday, the 10th of April. All right, I will see y'all back on May 11th for the final hearing. We'll be in recess on this case until then. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 11:30 to call a permanency hearing on a Randall County case involving the Wickeser child. So y'all have a good week. We'll be back at 11:30. 11:30.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank y'all. I will call Randall County case number 85939L2. This is a permanency hearing involving the Wickeser child. Ms. Gutierrez is with us from the department. Ms. Naranjo is with us representing the child. Mr. Saint is with us representing the mother, Ms. Mays. Mr. Saint, she's not with us. Were you expecting her?
I was, Judge.
Okay, I'll keep watching the waiting room. Okay. Ms. Archer's with us representing the father, Mr. Wickeser. He is not with us. Ms. Archer, were you expecting him?
No, I've been unable to reach him lately.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, then I will watch the waiting room. I do have Sylvia Garcia.
That's my worker on this one, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, that clears out our waiting room. Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Sylvia Garcia as its witness.
All right. Ms. Garcia, if you would raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. We ask for judicial notice of the court report filed on March 24th of 2026.
All right, so noted, and I read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sylvia, you are the St. Francis caseworker assigned to the Wickeser case. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. Can we get an update on how the child is doing since the filing of the court report on March 24th?
Mark is doing very well. He really likes his placement. He's bonded with his grandmother, Rhonda Mays. He's actually been going to daycare as well, and he really likes the daycare. He's been able to socialize with other kids his age, and he's made really good progress there with them. And he's also potty trained, so he will officially be ready to start school in August of 2026.
That is fantastic. Can we also get an update on how Stevie Mays is doing?
So she's actually doing well as well. She did complete her outpatient program with Synacor, and she has been employed at Irwin's greenhouse, and she's working there full time. She's also, so they did call her for the voucher on the HUD list, but due to some of the criteria that they have there in their policies, they're actually reviewing her case to see if she's actually going to be eligible for a voucher, just because they have a 3-year policy or a 3-year regulation where you can't have any type of DUIs or criminal arrest or convictions. And she currently does fall under that scope because she got a DUI 2 years ago.
Thank you. And can you give us an update on Mr. Wickeser?
So I have not been able to make contact with him, but I did get what we call an LPS worker, which she is a worker that is in his region that goes out there and sees him and does the face-to-face. They were able to make contact with him at the end of the month and just kind of give him an update of, us needing him to drug screen and him to reach out to me based on the conversation that was had. It looks like he said that he would reach out to me and that he would drug screen, but I have not heard from him since that communication.
Do you know if he complied with that request to drug screen?
So we have to put in a request for him to drug screen. So we were just waiting for our court hearing so we can get that court ordered.
Okay. As far as visitation, how is Stevie's visitation with the children going?
So her visitation is going very well due to her completing the outpatient program and having negative UAs. We have moved visitation to go back with placement so placement will monitor it. It actually works out way better that way just because Mark is autistic. So we had an instance where the visit had to be canceled because of where it was being held at. It was going through a third-party contractor and the visitation wasn't being able to be held at the McDonald's because they were having water issues. And so Mark got very, very upset. And it took him about like 30 minutes for him to, calm down and for him to not get a little bit aggressive with placement just because he really wanted to see his mom. So due to those negative drug screens, we thought that it would be best for us to move those back with placement, being the monitor. And so far it has been going well.
And as far as Clayton's visitation with the child, how is that going?
So that is going to be done through placement, but because we have not been able to have contact with him, he did know that the third-party contractor did need to reach out to him, and they were able to have an initial conversation so that he knew that they were the ones that were in charge of the visit. But just because we haven't had communication with him or I haven't had direct communication with him, I've still continued to let the third-party contractor do that and those visits, so that way I can talk to him first before he misses any visits with Mark.
Okay, so to clarify, we're having a third party supervise the visits, dad's visits with Mark, correct?
For the time being, yes.
Okay. You've mentioned a lack of communication with him a couple of times. What changes have occurred in Mr. Wickeser's life that are kind of creating that issue?
So he recently relocated down to Oregon, Texas, and he's living there with his mother. From the conversation that was had with the LPS worker, it looks like he's still searching for work. So I think financially, him not being able to have a cell phone and not having like internet and those type of things kind of have caused a barrier for him. But he is looking for employment, and he had some leads to meat lumber there in that town that he was trying to get employed with. So I honestly think that it's financially, that's why he's not being able to get a hold of us or we're able to have direct contact with him.
Do you know the approximate month and year that he relocated to that part of Texas?
It was in February.
When was the last drug screening that Mr. Wickeser was asked to do?
It was in December.
And since December, is it the issue of getting a hold of him? Is that why he has not gone to drug screen since then?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you give us a little bit more details about that? Because drugs was an issue earlier on in the case.
Yes, it was. And so he ended up going to rehab. He went to Grace Manor in Lubbock. And then since then, he had a negative UA. We haven't had a negative hair follicle since he's been out of rehab. And it's again just the lack of not being able to reach him. But I've sent him messages to let him know, like, you have to go drug screen. But again, I'm not positive he received those, just because I know that the number that I originally was getting a hold of him on has been disconnected since then.
Thank you, Sylvia. And we are also, we're scheduled for mediation, hopefully here in the next month and a half. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Are we asking for any changes to either of the parents' visitation today?
We are not.
And are there any additional services for Ms. Mays that we are asking the court to order?
Not at the moment.
Are there any additional services for Mr. Wickeser we are asking the court to order?
No.
And what about for the child?
No.
As far as drug screens, what drug screens are we asking for Ms. Mays today?
We're asking for a UA.
And for Mr. Wickeser, what drug screens are we asking the court to order today?
A hair follicle and a UA.
And you had said the town he is it Oregon, Texas? Is that correct?
It's Corrigan.
Can you spell that, please?
Yes, it is Corrigan.
Thank you. I heard that completely wrong the first time you said it.
So did I.
Yeah, I've got Oregon written up here. Let me
I did too.
that. As far as reasonable efforts to reunify, can you explain in detail the department's reasonable efforts to reunify the family?
Yes, so we did a family plan of service that were tailored specifically to each parent. For Ms. Mays, we knew that she had a history of drug use and alcohol use. So we asked for an OZAR for her and for her to follow recommendations, for her to do ongoing drug screening, for her to do individual therapy to address some of the reasons of removal, and then also address just her history with the drug use. And then we also did do some parenting classes for her. And for Mr. Wickeser, he was also, because of his history, was ordered to do an OZAR, do drug screens ongoing, do anger management, do an RBT, which is the rational behavior therapy. And then he was also ordered to do the BIP. Basically, it was just for him to do the evaluation and follow recommendations. And then I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I already mentioned the anger management that was ordered later on by the judge.
And did he complete that anger management?
Yes, he did.
All right. Is placing the child with the relative also a part of the reasonable efforts to reunify?
Yes, it has been.
And facilitating the visitation between the parents with the child, is that also a reasonable effort?
Yes, and St. Francis has offered to transport, and we've provided third-party monitors and also St. Francis staff.
Do we have any other requests for the court today?
We do not.
Would it be contrary to the welfare of the child to be returned to the parents today?
Yes.
And would it also be a continuing danger to the child's physical health or safety?
Yes, it would.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Sylvia, did Mr. Wickeser do the intake for BIP?
No, he has not. He did talk to the LPS worker, and he did mention that he just kind of still felt that it was unfair that he had to do it, but if we could get the service provider for him, that he would try to do the evaluation.
Okay, so we don't know yet if he's even going to qualify for it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that Miss Mays has done her outpatient that I ordered. I'd also ordered that she do a second OSAR and a second set of 6 counseling sessions. Has she done either of those other things?
So she did do both of those. The outpatient program, they do the individual sessions there with them. And so that was part of the outpatient program.
Okay, so she's done all those things that were court ordered.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Saint, questions?
No questions, Judge.
All right, Miss Archer.
Sylvia, did you say why Clayton decided to move?
So he decided to move just because he felt like he did not have enough support here. Whenever I briefly talked to him, we had a PC meeting, which is basically where we give updates and how we want to move forward, and how we can help as far as like the parents and the child. And so when we had that meeting, Clayton basically stated that the only support he had was myself. And whenever I spoke to him, he just said that he felt like he needed to kind of go back home and be able to also rely on his family because he did have family, and he felt like me just being his only support was not enough.
If the judge orders him to drug screen, do we have a way to reach him to let him know?
I would have to reach out to the LPS worker and see if they can go back out there again, so that way they could set up transportation, because I do know that he's going to need transportation because the closest drug facility to him for him to screen is about 23 miles from where he's at.
Okay, so if the judge orders the drug screen, we probably need a little bit of time to get that accomplished, correct?
That's correct.
I'll pass the witness.
Right. Ms. Naranjo?
Miss Garcia, is Mr. Wickeser exercising his virtual visitation right now?
As of right now, I don't think he's done the last couple.
When was the last time he visited with the child?
I would have to get with the monitor to give you an exact date.
Has it been a couple months at least?
It has not been a couple of months.
Okay. Regarding Miss May's visitation, you said it was supervised by placement. How often and how long is she having visits?
So those visits are for now 4 hours, and they're once a week.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anyone have further questions for Sylvia? All right, then, Ms. Gutierrez, do you have any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Your Honor. The department rests.
All right, thank you. Mr. Saint, any witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. Archer?
No witnesses.
All right, Ms. Naranjo, recommendations?
Your Honor, I would recommend that it is in the best interest of the child to remain in his current placement. He's doing really well there. I'd recommend the department remain temporary managing conservator.
Okay.
And the parents, I think it'd be beneficial for all parents to be ordered to UA and hair follicle, considering we have a mediation coming up in May.
Okay. All right, then. I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator. I will continue Mark's current placement. I'll order both parents to both hair strand and UA drug screen. Ms. Mays by 4 p.m. today, and based on the evidence I heard, Mr. Wickeser just as soon as it can be set up for wherever he's residing at. Okay, I will set the final in this case for June 15th, 2026. It will be by Zoom, just like today's hearings, so parties can ask their lawyers or anyone can go on the court's online docket a day or two before June 15 to see what time of day we'll have that hearing.